IPMNation.com.
One. Just seconds away. With Brian Brawdy. There we go.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Welcome to All Natural Being. As the announcer says, I'm Brian. And I want to thank you for joining us here on All Natural Being. Whether you're listening live, I've gotten some cool text messages, including, I'm with you, Doug. You never know what kind of music's going to be playing before they throw it to us here. Now, if you're listening live, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, you know exactly what Doug and I are laughing about. You just never know. It's the luck of the draw. But I can tell you, that one guy's voice is so captivating that sometimes I forget we're supposed to go live, and I'm kind of leaning in going, yes, feature artist, yes, tell me more. And then there you go. Right? And then you go, oh, wait a minute. I want to know how you get to be a featured artist in case I grow up one day and decide to want to be a musician. But anyway, if you're listening, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, or then again 8 p.m. Eastern Time, you're probably not going to get a chance because my good friend Matt, back at IPMNation.com, gets it all polished, all cleaned up, so it sounds like I know what I'm doing, right? Gets it all cleaned up before you listen to it there. Or if you listen to it on iTunes, then you won't know. But it's always, it's been a heck of a run figuring out what's going to queue itself up before we come to you live each morning. So, Doug, thanks for the reminder. I wouldn't have known that was rave music. I guess I don't get out much. That said, I did get out day before yesterday. I had to take off to the country of Belize in Central America. I love it there. So I had to run real quick down there for a meeting. Finished up the show. Ashley helped me. We sprinted to the airport. Sprinted, right, in rush hour traffic here in Chicago, which means it takes like 3.5 hours to go, like 21 miles. And then we get there, and the security does everything it can just to it doesn't want you getting to the airplane with too much time to kill. Doesn't want you getting in your seat watching everybody pass by you. They don't want you getting to the gate too early and wasting all your money on breakfast and something to drink before you get your flight. So it's a public service to make us wait 2.5 hours in line at security, right? They're just trying to slow us down, mentally prepared us, allowing us to take a deep breath before we have to, battle with the gate agents. So, in any event, I ran off to Belize for a quick meeting, and I had to show everything set up. I want to thank Robert at Ramon's, the hotel I was at. I got everything set up. We're ready. We've got a great internet signal. I start to write the show, start to produce it. Oh, I got so many cool stories to tell you about in this morning's show as well. But we get there, get everything all set up and ready to go, and it's an hour behind where I am in Chicago. They don't do the whole daylight savings time thing, so it's an hour behind. So I'm doing the math. Okay, if it's 4 o'clock here, that means they give me a little bit of time. I'll do this, then be ready to go live. So I'm set up. I took my portable gear, so I'll be able to do it. And then I hear this tap, because the place I'm staying in has thatched roofs. I think you probably call them thatched roofs down there. And I hear, and then I hear a couple more, and then a couple more. And then, honest, you hear the cliche, oh, the sky's just opened. Well, I think they may have. I looked out my window, and the rain was coming down so heavy, I watched it ground a bird. Like the bird went to take off, Nah, sit down, silly. You're not going anywhere, right? Like when you try to get out of your seat after a long day of flying. You're 50 feet from the gate, the plane's still rolling, so you figure, let me grab my bag, and then you stand up, but because you did it 2 seconds before the take your seatbelt off sign or keep your seatbelt sign goes off, then a flight attendant, excuse me, sir, we're on an active runway. Could you please sit down until the... Right? Just like that. So the bird takes off, and then Mother Nature goes, can you please sit down until this rainstorm is over, please? Which also makes me think, God love you if you're a flight attendant and you have to put up with us day in and day out. But has anyone noticed, if you get on an airplane anymore, how flight attendants seem to compete like it's open mic night? And everyone wants to talk. Ooh, and they're second only to the pilots. And the one I had yesterday, I absolutely loved. Just happened to be American Airlines. But the pilot goes on for we're flying a Boeing 11,000 with 16 twin turbo engines. We'll be at 857,000 feet above sea, blah, 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 blah. It's minus 150 degrees Celsius outside. In case you're thinking of opening the emergency door, it might be a little chilly, so you might want to just keep your seatbelts on. Keep your seat. And he goes through this whole riff, and then he goes, I'm not much for these these voice announcements or these public PA announcements while we're flying, so I'll go ahead and let you go. I'm thinking to myself, just like the flight attendants, they all fight to get to tell you something on the mic, right? They get a microphone. Here's my 15 seconds of fame. The TSA has made it so that it's a national security risk. Please use the bathrooms. I think they call them. Please use the restrooms in your ticketed area. Right. Like I'm a threat to national security if I'm in business and I go 4 feet through the little curtain into first class. Well, I'm good. Right? I'm a threat. So, in any event, I've had a full day yesterday and into the evening of flying and listening to everyone compete for a microphone. Absolutely hysterical. I mean, it's not like Southwest where they get up there and do full-on riffs of stand-up. But I'm just amazed at the number of flight attendants that bolt past you to get to the front of the plane to use the microphone. It's hysterical. All right. Well, again, welcome to All Natural Being. I got to tell you, the goal of this show every day, is I want people to leave this go, you know what, maybe this guy named Brian, maybe he's right. Maybe there is a reason. Maybe I can live a euphoric, an ecstatic life. I can have a life that just grabs me, that just thrills me. So my goal every day when I come in to do this is I want you to see yourself differently when you look in the mirror. I want to change the way you view yourself by repurposing the way you think. That's it. That's all I want to do. I want you to realize, if you don't already, I want you to feel it in your gut that there's no reason for you to have to live a watered-down life. Who wants to do that? I want you to be in awe of who you are, because you should be. I most certainly am. I like the idea of who you are. I love the idea of you being comfortable in your own skin, of you uncovering archaeological dig, uncovering all the natural resources, all the myriad treasures that are already buried, encoded in you. And all I want to do is for you to be able to, let's call it ID your IG. Right? How's that for a little term? ID your IG, or just identify your intrinsic gifts on command. That's all. I want you to remember your capacity for creative action whenever you like, and to remember that it's nearly unlimited. Absolutely unlimited. But, as we'll get to in today's show, some of us block that. Some of us don't tap into the truly unimaginable power of living in the present moment. So we hold ourselves back. We keep our soul on the sidelines. I have to tell you, one of the reasons I dig Belize is, as I'm sure you know, it has the largest barrier reef in the Western Hemisphere. Second in the whole world. Only to the Great Barrier Reef down under, our Aussie friends. But the Belize Barrier Reef, the barrier reef off the coast of Belize is probably a better way to put it. I love it. And people go, oh, do you go and snorkel it? Yes, we do. From time to time, we do. But I love being on top of the water looking out at the reef. because it truly is a barrier. It truly is a buffer. And when I watch the water, when I watch the ocean encroach it and then crash over it, and you can see the breakers right there, it always reminds me of an ego shield. Always reminds me of how we need to have that buffer. We need to have the ability, no matter what chaos throws, no matter what fate throws us, it hits our reef, slows its roll, gives us time to figure out what we're going to do with it. So I'll sit there on the beach or on the dock or on the boat. Even if we're right up close to it, I like to spend some time just watching what it does. How it blocks the coast from some pretty heavy-duty waves as they come in. And it always makes me think of what you and I can do to make sure that we're able to block those same things coming in on us. All right, so let's get to today's show. Segment number 1. All right, it says I'm getting a text saying that my audio keeps cutting in and out. All right, let me try. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe the computer thinks it's still in Belize. All right, well, it says we're still good, so my apologies. Thank you for the text, though, letting me know that the audio keeps going in and out. It figures. Probably went out during my riff about flight attendants jockeying for position in the microphone. My luck. All right, segment number 1. Destiny or density? We got to ask ourselves, are we just too thick to be happy? Are we just too thick to flourish? Segment 1, number 2, want to master the game of life? Muster who you truly are. Muster who you truly are. That's it. Segment number 3. Goals are great, but detours are divine. How do you like that little rhyme? And segment number 4, exotic is in the eye of the beholder. Every time I'm in Belize and I think of the birds, or the monkeys in China. We'll talk about that as well. I want to go ahead and catch you up on the concept that I've always believed, continue to this day. Exotic is in the eye of the beholder. All right, so let's get to our anaerobic aphorism. For those of you that texted me, got quite a few saying, hey, what happened to the anaerobic aphorism yesterday? Just no internet. That rain was so thick, I couldn't get an internet signal out with all the practice, all the study, everything. And, of course, you know me, haven't quite figured out yet. Probably take a class this weekend, but haven't quite figured out yet how to use my portable phone, my iPhone, my smartphone, to do all this stuff. So I rely on my laptop, and we didn't have any kind of, we didn't have any kind of. I even went to the front desk, and the front desk goes, what do you want from us? Even our internet's out. I go, oh, okay. Thanks for that. So my apologies for yesterday's show. Hey, I hope you liked that iTunes version. That was most certainly one that I enjoyed doing, so I hope you like that. But we're back live today, so I want to jump to the anaerobic aphorism, and it is that there's no happiness without a good deal of elbow grease. Now, I realize I'm dating myself when I say elbow grease, right? Maybe, I don't know, maybe the millennial generation isn't familiar with the term. My grandmother used to use it a lot. But then again, my grandmother used to tell me that if it were up to her, she'd take a bar of soap, a pair of scissors, take me down to the port in Northport, and wash my hair and cut off my long hair. So she used to say that as well. But in any event, that was her version of happiness, apparently, and elbow grease. So that's why the quote, there is no happiness without a good deal of elbow grease. Because when you think about it, we really do. You have to work at our happiness. Happiness is hard work. It's not like something that comes, like the rain of Belize, and all of a sudden, whoosh, right, and you're happy. We got to work at our happiness. There's a lot gunning for us. So we just can't wake up and go, oh, today I'm going to be happy. All right, well, it takes some elbow grease. It takes some hard work. So that's what I want the focus of the show today to be, is just realize, look, we got to work at happiness. We're not necessarily able to kick back. Now, that doesn't mean when we're kicking back we can't be happy. But there's still some work that goes into it, which leads us right in to segment number 1. Oh, I'm also supposed to tell you, as you can tell, thank you everyone for the text. You can text me. You can also reach me at 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. You can hit me. Oh, if you go to allnaturalbeing.com, a.k.a. BrianBrawdy.com, but allnaturalbeing.com. Leave me an email. I'll send you one back. We can hook up that way. Also, Brian Brawdy Official is the name of the page over on Facebook. And you can hit me at Twitter at Brian Brawdy. All right, segment number 1. Destiny or density? Are you and I just too thick to be happy? So it takes me to the whole nature or nurture debate. Is genius inborn? Is it something that's inculcated? Do you learn it as you grow? Nature and nurture. You come hardwired, or does it happen to you, after the fact? So for me, I begin to look at destiny as natural. Won't shock anyone, right? Your destiny encoded in who you are. But that fate is responsible for some of your nurturing. Fate, doing what it can to derail you at any turn, is there to kind of, it's not even a check and balance, because when you look at it in retrospect, when you looked at it afterwards, you have your destiny, and then fate is just kind of like some of the special sauce, some of the flavoring that's added to the recipe. And then are you familiar with Dr. Mattei? He's an addiction counselor. I think he works in Canada. He's written a couple cool books and does some great speeches. But he's got a quote that says, in the real world, there is no nature versus nurture argument. Only an infinitely complex, this is what I love about it, right? Quote, infinitely complex and moment-by-moment interaction between genetic, which I would call destiny, a little paraphrasing there, but interaction between the genetic and environmental effects, which I would call fate. So we want to kick back and contemplate it for a minute. We have our destiny, the things engraved, the marrow of our very minds. And then fate are those things, those environmental effects that kind of tweak it, kind of, just work to knock us off our stride, knock us off our game, that work to do that. So in the battle, if there is one, between nature and nurture, we can be fired up going, we have our destiny. Fate does what it can, but it kind of blends us. It's that special sauce that makes life what it is. And then you and I strive every day, right? That's why there's no happiness without a good deal of elbow grease. Our elbow grease is how we work to continue to manifest our destiny. Not to let fate spice us up too much. Not to let it flavor us in ways that we don't want. We may not like. So it is an infinitely complex and moment-by-moment interaction, as Mattei says, between destiny and fate, which is how I say it. Again, he says genetic and environmental factors. So, how are your environmental factors doing what they can to affect your destiny? You got people around you, situations around you. You've got mindsets around you that are doing what it can to keep you off your foundation, knock you out of your stride. Only you would know. Are we too dense? Do we have too much binge thinking going on in our brains? Too many people telling us what to do? Too many experts? The experts in our lives?
Well, let me tell you, you should be doing it this way.
Right? We too dense, you and me? Too thick to flourish? Too like an impacted wisdom tooth? Too much external packaging? Too many pins trying to hit our internal pin cushion? Only we know. But the cool thing is, you and I have the ability. We have our own barrier reef. It's called a 20-second victory. Breathe in, exhale, scan, then take action. We've got our own barrier reef that no matter what happens on the outside, it slows it down a little bit, causes a few breakers, doesn't allow to hit us full impact. We have our destiny. Fate will do what we can. But our ego shield, our boundary, is there to make sure that you and I have some say before that happens. So we breathe in, exhale, scan the horizon, take action. Takes 20 seconds. At the long end, right? You probably pull this off in 10 seconds. I just like to take a nice deep breath, then exhale, then check my 6, figure out what's going on around me, and then take action. Then decide to what degree I'll let fate flavor my destiny. You and I, we're both capable of it. We just have to decide to do it. All right. We'll be right back.
IPMNation.com.
IPMNation.com. I love it. I say it as often as I can. Independent, provocative, and mobile, just like your mind should be. We want an independent mind. We want to provoke ourselves. We want to poke ourselves in the chest from time to time and going, hey, what's going on in there? Who's running this ship? Oh, believe me, I thought a couple times while I was gone. Remember I told you at the beginning of the week about nervous and jerky, the two little voices in my mind when I'm worried things aren't going to work out the way I want them to. Nervous and jerky. You look in from the outside and go, oh, man, who left you two inmates run the asylum? That's why I ask all the time, is your mind a sanctuary or an asylum? And it's a blend. Right? This whole nature versus nurture. This whole destiny versus fate. It's a blend. Some days destiny is up. Some days you and I let fate get in a little more than we should. So what? We're human. Ignore us. Can't be perfect. If we were perfect, chances are pretty good we'd be out of here. What's the quote? Into every life a little rain must fall. It happens. So how are you and I going to master this game of life? This game between destiny and fate, right? I don't want to sound old Star Wars. Luke, I am your father. Right? Not that kind of, I guess you could say it that way. You know, good forces, bad forces, whatever you want to call it. But how are you and I going to master this game of life? Luke. How are we going to master? How are we going to beat back, which you would have to admit are almost epidemic levels of indifference as to who we ultimately are? Bry. I'll make it. I'll get through. Don't worry about it. One of my favorite authors of all time, abolitionists, I quote him quite a bit here, Frederick Douglass. A great quote. But I should be false to here's what I love. He calls it the earliest sentiments of my soul, which is why I talk all the time about going back to square one. The root of your soul, as Rumi would put it. I like falling back to square one, going back to the very beginning. Here's my destiny. Before fate added all these external ingredients, he calls it the earliest sentiments of my soul. Quote, I prefer to be true to myself, even at the hazard of incurring the ridicule of others, rather than to be false and incur my own abhorrence. He didn't want to hate himself. He was all over the hazards of incurring the ridicule of other people, rather than to be false, just to try to fit into the herd. God love him. I'm laughing. I can't get through that train of thought without laughing at myself. The hazard of incurring the ridicule of others. Try doing this show. The hazards of incurring the ridicule of others. Yeah, that's called hate mail. So keep it coming. Everybody, keep it coming. But what he says is he'd rather do it. As ultimately I think you and I would agree, we'd rather do it than have to look in the mirror and go, nervous and jerky, what are you doing in there? And you threaten him, you go, keep it up. I'm going to get your remote control. Take the batteries out. He'd rather incur the ridicule of others than have to look in the mirror and go, man, you sold yourself out. So how do we master the game of life? We muster who we are. We don't want to be indifferent, granted, or grown. We have a human mind. And when we work to remember who runs that human mind, life's a pretty sweet gig. As long as we remember, the mind works for us. We don't work for it. All right, let's take a quick break.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
That's the question. How much longer are we going to let them, either the outside people, all of our critics, our walking, talking, Venus flytraps, oh, come on over here, it's all good. Right? Oh, the critic, oh, listen to my opinion, why don't you land right over here in this beautiful... Right? Those ever-swirling pits of quicksand. that are our critics. We've got them telling us what we should do. We got them going, oh, don't listen to Frederick Douglass. What does he know? And Brian's even crazier than he was. How much longer are we going to let them hijack our heart on our heads? Or on the inside, nervous and jerky, which is just the name, right? It's funny. I dated myself earlier by saying elbow grease. I don't know if you, anyone listening, is because I'm told there's a lot of millennials. I'm not really sure what that term means, but there's a lot of millennials listening, which I'm glad, because who wants to go through life having a quarter-life crisis? I say save the crisis for midlife. It's more fun. It's more fun. Oh, I would thank you, Doug. I was responding to your on-air thanks. Well, you're welcome. And then you're welcome. What, is there an echo in here? No. I hope we've cleared up some of the audio cutting in and out. Hope that that's happened already, because I'm having some fun this morning. All right, so if you remember the show a while ago called, what was it, Laverne and Shirley? Do you remember Lenny and Squiggy? Well, my nervous and jerky are like, when I say that, I always picture in my mind Lenny and Squiggy. I don't want them running the bus. So when I talk about someone hijacking your heart and your head, it could be outside your Venus flytraps. It could also be your inner Lenny and Squiggy. So just keep that in mind. Now, segment 3. Goals are great. Oh, look, I take a lot of crap from people. Emails, text, all of them. Facebook posts and the like, because they,
Well, goal setting is very important. The human race would be nowhere without goal setting.
so apparently I have a lot of biological historians that'll tell me, how humanity has progressed, because it's always been one big carrot at the end of a stick. So goals are great, I guess, if I can't talk you out of them. Hey, God love you. Like I say all the time, you can't spell Brian without the I in idiot. Don't listen to me. Try this for yourself. Right? You don't walk into a shoe store and the guy goes,
Oh, you look like a 7. Let me give you these shoes. All right, give me your credit card. You're out of here.
you want to try them on. Give me that little silver and black slidey thing. Tells me how long and how wide my feet are, right? I wish I knew what that was called, but a foot sizer, let's say. If you know what that thing is called, give me a holler, 331-684-7685. But you know the thing, it's silver, it's got some black writing on it, and it looks like an elongated, I don't know, just elongated. You put your foot in, put your heel here, and you slide them so you figure out, well, that's what this show's like. I want you to take this stuff and see if it fits. And if it doesn't fit, I can't talk you out of goals.
Oh, I got a bucket list. I got to get to it. I'd like to hang out, but I got a to-do list for today.
If I can't talk you out of it, then let me at least meet you halfway. Say goals are great, but detours are divine. I love the detours. We've talked before about the eddies that happen. Sure, you're in the flow, you're in the river, everything's smooth and smooth. You hit a rock, there's your eddy. The eddy, the rabbit holes, that's where life is. So for me, I begin to look at an obstacle. It isn't a cause for abandonment, but it's a call for acuity. We don't leave the path, we simply look harder at where we are. Because it's the interplay with our everyday experiences, life in the labyrinth, that builds who we are. And the cool thing about it is, you have all these classes, all these books, all these self-help, the self-help cartel, self-help industry tactics, the big business, the motivation industrial complex. You know who I'm talking about. They're going to tell you, oh, we have to find your passion. And I would offer, it's not like this thing that's out there that you go, oh, where are you hiding? Hide and seek. I've counted to 10. I'm going to come look for you. We foster and forge our passion one encounter at a time. That's what Matei was talking about when he says the environmental interactions. So it's not like we have this passion that's just sitting there waiting to be uncovered. A pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. It's like that at all. We fashion it. We foster it. We forge it. one encounter at a time, when we stay connected to the truly unimaginable power of living in the present moment. Because you and I are constructed by circumstance, at least philosophically, psychologically. We're constructed by circumstance. It's our destiny with a splash of fate at every turn. It's our reactions to the happenstance that establish who we ultimately become. So we don't have a passion, we become a passion. Excuse me. And the key to doing that, a key to tapping into the truly unimaginable power of living in the present moment, boils down to a simple question. Is this moment a target-rich or a target-rare environment? Only you know. Target-rich, target-rare. You decide. In this moment, do the fingerprints of Providence bubble up? And if it takes a little bit elbow grease to figure these things out, that's what makes you a good detective, right? That's what makes you a good investigator. You go into the scene, and every scene is a target-rich environment. There's never a target-rare environment. If you're good at what you do, as you are. So when you talk about a collective consciousness, I mean it a good bit more personal. It's you in the labyrinth, collectively, you in the moment, excuse me, where all the fingerprints of Providence bubble up. All you have to do is show up and engage the moment. And as we do that, moment in, moment out, day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, we look back and go, wow, I got a passion for that, don't I? So you have all these poor millennials running around going,
I'm 21 and I don't know what my calling is.
God love you, you're 21. Enjoy your life. Figure it out one step at a time. One left, one right, one up, one down, one pivot, one swerve. No dead ends here in the labyrinth. Only cul-de-sacs, only U-turns. This labyrinth, target-rich. Off the charts, target-rich. For the people that have the acuity, right, the sharp focus to look hard enough at where they are right now in this moment. Trusting in the universe to hook you up when you've bagged a collection of these moments. It's not like you can just ignore everything going on around you and one day go,
oh, I found my purpose. I heard my calling.
No. So if you and I are at a stage where we go, man, I would give anything to figure out what it is I want to do with my life, then you go, great. Take a deep breath, exhale, scan your horizon, take action. We start to build it. Well, those the things when we made when we were younger in school, collages, right? Is that where you put all the different colored pieces of paper down, and then you put some varnish or shellac over them? I think they were called collages. Well, that's how our passion is constructed. It's one big collage, one big bag of experiences. And if you're 21, 22, 23 years old, maybe 25, maybe 30, 31 years old, you're thinking, I'm going through a quarter-life crisis. You don't have enough little pieces of paper to glue to your piece of art yet. You don't have enough stuff to put into your collage. There's not a crisis, nothing to panic about, just because the herd says,
well, by the time you're 17, you should go to college, get a 2-year, then a 4-year, then a master, then a graduate work for your PhD, and
who knows what. Take some time, take a deep breath, enjoy the fact that you're here, enjoy who you are. Now, if you're older, you're going through your midlife crisis, maybe you don't have enough pieces left of your collage, your montage of living in the moment. But when you have that, a bag full of all your detours, a color palette, right? If you're a paint, well, you have that board with all the different paints, and you can reach over and dab your paintbrush and then come back to the canvas. Ooh, you haven't added enough paint to your palette yet. So go out and get some more paint. Grab some more experiences. There'll be plenty of time for you to be brilliant. Plenty of time. So if you have someone that's suffering through a quarter-life crisis, if you're someone suffering through a quarter-life crisis, if you're in a midlife crisis, You got to get off your own back. Got to be your own best friend, even if just for the next 20 minutes, 20-minute victory. What can I do right now for the next 20 minutes to remind me of who I ultimately am? And when you have this bag of experiences, you're calling. Well, that's what it is. It's if it didn't call, you wouldn't hear it. So a calling will call to you.
Well, I'm looking for my calling.
Well, if you had any say in the matter, it would be a hearing, not a calling. A call is initiated. I don't sit here and go,
Okay, I'm going to close my eyes, wait for my friend Doug.
and if he's listening, this smart ass will call right now. But you get what I'm saying.
And I go, okay, I want a phone call right now.
No, you're out and about. You're moving around. You're doing your thing. Then the call comes in. If not, it would be a hearing. So be thrilled with who you are already. Have some fun. Do some studying. Check the fingerprints of providence in the moment, bubbling up around you. Then there's no crisis. You can't fail in the labyrinth because there's nowhere to succeed. There's no place to go to other than this moment. People go, oh, Brian, I've been sidetracked. From what? Well, from what I want to do in life. Well, we can only be sidetracked if we have a carrot at the end of the stick. If not, every little thing that happens in the moment helps to forge, helps to foster who we ultimately are, what our passion is. Just something to think about. You're having a quarter-life crisis. Remember who you are. Remember what you're here to do, right? We talk all the time. Who am I? Where am I? And what the hell am I going to do about it now? And the beauty of this chance, this moment in all of time, is that it's always a second chance. That's neuroplasticity in a nutshell. There's always a second chance for us to be who we truly are. Not a member of the herd, but impeccably human, with the courage and the fortitude and the grit to stay in this particular moment. No goals. Now, you can have a tending. You can have, well, I'd like to end up over in this area, right? It's a tending. Or why throw yourself in the labyrinth at all if we didn't have a tending? But a goal. When we're goal dense, when we're to-do list dense, when we're bucket list dense, none of the authenticity, none of the beauty of the moment gets a chance to bubble up because we got a 57-item bucket list and we complete one and we got on our list and our number 2 pencil and we're busy just checking off one.
Oh, I got another one. I got a bucket list. I'm an eighth of the way done.
And then we end up not even being able to experience the moment, have some fun with it, because it's just something to check off on a long list of things we need to do so that we ultimately can be happy. Look, it takes real courage. That's why I say all the time, if you're contemplating the concept of all natural being, mentally, you're a rare breed. Because it does take elbow grease to be happy. You can't buy it. You can't meet it at a bar. Can't meet it online. It takes elbow grease. You got to work at it. And what you're working at? You're working who you are. Getting more paint on your palette. More pieces of colored paper for your collage. Your montage of the moments. It's hard work being happy. Doesn't mean you don't deserve it. You and I both know, Lord knows how hard you work. You and I both know you deserve it. We'll be right back.
No self-help industry tactics here. You're listening to the real deal. Brian Brawdy with All Natural Being on IPM Nation.
All right. I want to jump in because I got a little bit of a story I want to share with you. And I hope we have a chance to get to our Around the Web segment this morning. I'm not sure that we will, but. All right. So we've gone over in segment 1, destiny or density. Are you and I just too thick to be happy? I am at times. I don't know about you, but I am at times. Segment number 2, how to master the game of life. Easy answer.
Oh, I want to crack the riddle of life.
Just muster who you are. Don't buy in, as I said earlier, to these epidemic levels. Epidemic. Greatest disease of our time is the indifference to who we ultimately are, who we are already. Segment number 3, goals are great. All right, if I got to give a little. You're a little country. I'm a little rock and roll, whatever the song was. Or Green Acres. Man, I just am in the mood to date myself. He's a little bit country. She's a little bit rock and roll. Wasn't that Green Acres? Da-dun, da-dun, dun. All right. An obstacle isn't a cause for abandonment. It's a call for acuity. To look down and go, hey, where am I right now? What is this trying to teach me? Plain and simple. Now, segment 4. I called it Exotic is in the Eye of the Beholder. I don't know who first came up with the quote, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. If you know, reach out, 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. But I'm stealing that. I'm plagiarizing that. Oh, I have to tell you, my friend Bill, I had a meeting with the other day. He goes, he talks about how he put something safe and sound. And he goes, I'll never see it again. He says, put something in his pocket. It's safe and sound in my pocket. He'll go to look later and it's gone. I just started laughing. Safe and sound. Sayonara. Oh, yeah, it's safe and sound. Don't worry. You can trust it to be right here. See ya. It's gone. Can't find it. Have no clue. I'm stealing that line as well. I love it. Safe and sound. Sayonara. So just like the birds of Belize, or it happened to me once in China. Let me tell you the China story first, and then we'll jump up to the Belize story. In China, right, first time I've been there. And we're traveling all over the place. My friend Mike Morrow, great world-renowned photographer. Traveling all over with China, spending some time at Wudong Mountain and some of the surrounding areas. And we get to a place, and there's monkeys, like monkeys, running around all over the place, coming up to people. I saw a monkey take an apple out of somebody's lunch bag. It was really something else. I'm fascinated. There's little baby monkeys holding on to the mom monkeys. The dad monkeys are running around. Everybody's screeching and backflipping and jumping from tree to tree and tourist backpack. As I got closer to one particular, I want to call it a shop, but it's really a small little cubicle. An older Chinese woman runs out with a broom and starts smacking on the monkeys. I thought to myself, they're monkeys. How cool is that? Why are you shuffling them away with a broom? And then it dawned on me. She's sick and tired of the monkeys. Because it's new to me, it's an adventure. Because it's new to me, it's exotic. Right? But to her, monkeys are like pigeons on the subway, on the L, down in Chicago. You think to yourself, if I have one more pigeon take a dump on me, I'm going to scream. It's a brand new shirt. I got pigeon dirt all over it. Right? So this nice older woman in China, the monkeys were just like pigeons. They were sick and tired of it. I want to thank my friend Sue, I just see. Retweeting. Being happy is hard work. Thank you, Sue, very much. So what does that have to do with the birds of Belize? If you're the lady in China, you're shooing away the monkeys. It's so bad now that they put like falcons and hawks. They build nests in some of the high-rises in Chicago because they figure that's the best way to get rid of the pigeons. But if you stop and take a look at a pigeon, I mean, really up close, they get beautiful color in the feathers, the small feathers of their neck. I mean, it's a pretty cool-looking bird. You know, the mourning doves, coo, coo, coo. I guess because they don't crap all over everybody. Everyone loves mourning doves. Oh, look at the two doves. Two pigeons. People are going after them with sticks. Right? Exotic is in the eye of the beholder. So, I'm in Belize. And, you know, it's relatively early in the morning. And the birds in the trees outside, forget the lizards running around, which in and of itself is just a blast to watch. But the birds in the trees, now, I'm not a bird expert, don't belong to the Audubon Society, so maybe someone can help me if you're familiar with the birds of Belize. But I think the guy raking the sand out front told me they were called motmots. Motmots. M-O-T-M-O-T. Motmots. And another one was a puff bird. But they're making just these fantastic sounds. Fantastic sounds. I'll tell you, one of my favorite memories of Belize out in the wild was the first time I ever heard a howler monkey. If you've ever heard a howler monkey, that's just amazing. So one of the beauties, many beauties of Belize, the flowers, the reef, are some of the cool animal noises that you could hear. So it's like 4 in the morning, and the birds are going crazy. Motmots, puff birds, whatever they were, whatever you want to call them. Going absolutely nuts. So I go out, I'm sitting on the porch, listening to it, watching the little lizards run up and down, having a blast, sitting there taking a moment to myself. And then along comes one of the young men there. His name was Ben, and he has a rake. And what he's supposed to do is rake the sand, so in case, like, leaves or things fall overnight or whatever. You know what I mean? Seaweed, whatever it is that's washed up on shore. I mean, Ambergris Key, where I'm staying, Ambergris gets its name because it's the, it's the regurgitation, some of the stuff that's in the gut of whales. And they get rid of this stuff from their guts, and there used to be tons of it wash up on shore, which is kind of cool, really, when you think about it. Tons of it washing up on shore, I guess, unless you're the guy raking it up. But tons of it used to wash up on shore, and that's why they called it Ambergris Key. Little news you could use, I guess, huh? So he's out, he's raking it up, and all of a sudden, someone just down the way from me comes out. He's got his towel, I guess, it's just wrapped around him, tied on him, however he does it. He's got his big towel, and he says to Ben, excuse me, could you use that rake? I'm trying to get some sleep here. Could you shoo some of those birds? Honest to goodness, could you shoo some of those birds away? I instantly thought of the lady in China. Instantly thought of this lady in China. And how she would shoo away the monkeys with the rake. And here's a guy that wants the birds shooed away because he's tired of the exotic bird signals. All right, I'm getting another text that it's skipping again, so my apologies. We have to figure out why it's working that way. So I don't know why I'm checking everything. Seems like we're good here. Seems like we got it all. All right, well, if you're listening to the rebroadcast, you know it's not going to matter, but my apologies if it's skipping. It's live. It says we still have a good stream. So I don't know what that could be. So we'll keep working on it. Call into the home office in Scottsdale, Arizona, see what we can do. Quote our good friend Dave Letterman. So in any event, this guy comes out on the porch, asks Ben, hey, can you shoo away some of these birds? It's too much racket. It's too loud. And I'm thinking, you come to their turf, you're complaining that their bird noises are too loud. So you want them shooed away. You want them shooed away. You can get your sleep. And I'm thinking to myself, well, then don't come here. It's a jungle. Get it? That's what happens in a jungle. Welcome to the jungle, to quote Guns N' Roses. Welcome to the jungle. And it made me think, exotic is in the eye of the beholder. Maybe that guy had been there for a month and he was just sick of it. Who knows? Not going to critique him. You know, maybe he had a migraine. I don't know. Maybe he's a light sleeper. But it made me think. Remember the Scottish philosopher David Hume? I don't know if you ever read any Hume. But he said that beauty is no quality in the things themselves. It exists merely in the mind which contemplates them. And that each mind perceives a different beauty. Or you could take the shorter version and just say, Beauty in things exists in the mind which contemplates them. So in order to be enamored with the sound of the Belize and mott-mott and puffbird, if that's in fact what they were, in order to be enthralled with the monkeys, in order to take the time to look at the coloring of pigeons and go, man, that is something else. It's got to be a relationship, a one-on-one relationship, a mind with its environment, a mind with its surroundings. You bring the definition to the moment at hand. You bring the definition. Nobody else. It's on you. And for this particular guy, I guess he just didn't dig the birds. I happened to be all over him. But what it says is that you and I give meaning in the moment. You have an example of that? Ever been to China? Ever been to Belize? Ever been to another part of the world where you saw something that was really cool? And you figure, wow, to the locals, that's a pain in the tuchus. But to you, it was new, so it was adventure, it was exotic, it was fascinating. It shows that the human mind doesn't necessarily dig a life full of repetition. That neurons dig the new. It wants novelty. It wants nuance. All the way down to its very core. So when we give it something new, when we're in the adventure, the impromptu, the moment at hand, when we work, when we put our elbow grease to keep Lenny and Squiggy in check, and we really work to trap the moment, to grab it, figure out what evidence it has for us. What's it telling us right now in this sliver in all of time? Because it's hard work. It takes elbow grease, as I said. But when we do that, we find a new exotic at every turn. When we stick, rote, repetition, maybe this guy heard the birds every morning for 2 weeks. Maybe. Don't know. Didn't talk to him. Not going up to a guy in a jungle wrapped in a towel and striking up a conversation. If there's anything wrong with that, just not going to do it. Maybe he just was sick of it. But that's not the way our minds work. Our minds dig the new, dig the novelty. So today, what could you do? How could you find your next definition of exotic? Where would you go? Who would you hang out with? What would you study? What would you read? What would you investigate? And then when you do that, your mind goes, wow, that's new. I dig that. I want to find out more about that. And then you know you're using, like all natural thinking, yes? You're using your mind the way it was intended. You're using the mind the way nature, divine, however you define it, how it intended your mind to be used. That's the deal. So maybe we're too quick to always want. Now, that's not saying we don't have a great ritual, right? I have a ritual every morning. Do the same thing every morning. Every morning. Well, except when I'm not here. But when I'm here, same thing every morning. The alarm goes off. Sometimes, most times I'm up beforehand. Alarm goes off. The first thing I do, take care of our dog Brash. Every morning. I want to get out of bed. First thing I do is hooking up another being. First thing I do. Well, the first thing I do is stumble around trying to get my sense of balance, right? But the very next thing I do is go, okay, Brash, come on. Normally whispering, because the moment you get out of bed, Brash starts smacking his tail on the floor. He's all excited to see him, like, shh, Brash, come on, let's go. So I go down, I make him some breakfast. He loves ice cubes for a treat. I give him an ice cube, go out, hang out in the yard for a little bit, come back in, make sure he's all set, and then I start into my adventure. So I'm not saying, because rituals are great to set us up at the opening of the labyrinth. But that's where the repetition ends. So what are your rituals? What do you do every day? Would you have a ritual before you go to bed? You go in, brush your teeth, gargle if you got it, whatever you're going to do. Climb into bed, arm wrestle with your pillows to make sure that they're just perfect. As long as you're mindful of it, as long as you're aware of it, as long as you show up in this moment, it's yours. You own it. That's what makes the ritual so powerful. But when we ingrain habits, that's the mind looking for an easy way out, right? It wants a shortcut. So all I'm suggesting, it's the difference between showing up and shortcuts. Show up. Pay attention to everything going on, the moment at hand. And your life will unfold for you in the labyrinth the way it's intended. Find beauty, because the definition of beauty is yours to own. You decide what's beautiful. It's not about fashion. It's about your personal style. It's about your soul's sap we talked about earlier in the week. Good golly, today's Friday already. Forgot that. Wow, coming into the weekend. So before we get out of here, what are you going to do this weekend to re-examine the exotic in your life? Because it is everywhere. You don't have to go to a jungle in Central America to listen to the birds. You don't have to go to China to find the monkeys. Well, you don't even have to go to Chicago to find the pigeons, really. What's the exotic that you speed by? That if you were to slow down and magnify this moment, the only moment in all of time that you truly have, what would you find? What would you discover? Also this weekend, finishing up with the whole Belize Barrier Reef motif. What can you do to build up your ego shield a little bit? Your buffer, your barrier. So when Lenny and Squiggy, as I call it, nervous and jerky, call yours anything you like. When those little voices in your head go, all right, time to binge think.
Oh, let's just run wild. It's the weekend.
These thoughts come in like, remember that movie Caddyshack when they let the caddies in once a year? Was it like for 15 minutes they were allowed in the pool? That's what happens. Lenny and Squiggy, belly flopping into the pool the moment they're allowed in. If you and I work to build a barrier, Lenny and Squiggy got to sit on the side. They're not allowed to jump in the pool. It's up to you and me what binge thinking we let in. All natural thinking is just saying, hey, Lenny and Squiggy, back behind the fence, please. I'll call you when it's your time. So what can you do this weekend to find the exotic in your life and to work to build your ego shield, your barrier? Because it's hard work. But if you want to be happy, it's worth the hard work. So no more head games. Let's focus on happiness. Let's remember who you ultimately are. Because I said in the beginning of the show, you deserve to live a euphoric, ecstatic life. And it really is my goal to get you to see yourself differently when you look in the mirror. To be comfortable in your own skin. So what can we do this weekend until we hang out again on Monday? What can we do? What can you do to be comfortable with who you already are? And to remember that your capacity for creative action, your capacity for finding the exotic at hand is truly unlimited. When you just show up in the moment, full acuity, full attention to what's going on right here, and you'll have a blast. You'll see. And as I say, we're going to close. And I'm sorry that we didn't get to any of the around the web. We'll be working on that. And I was talking to a couple, Kelly, a couple other friends about helping me kind of produce some of this, right? I'm doing it all by myself. I know you can't tell, right? You're thinking, oh, this is what would it be? A Grammy award-winning show. Well, I know, right? To a one-man band. But I'm working every day to figure it out. It get a little better. But when it comes to the production of the show, we'll keep working on it. So until Monday, live or any of the tape versions, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for making All Natural Being the #1 show on IPM Nation. Really appreciate it. Go out there. Have a fantastic weekend. Don't forget, if you need anything, hit me up, allnaturalbeing.com. Leave me an email. I'll fire you one back, and we'll go from there. Have a truly spectacular weekend. I look forward to hanging out with you. Let's say we'll do it on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.
You've been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
I'm going to tell you, I've had it up to here with this skipping. Have a great weekend.
IPMNation.com.